Hi Samir.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy new year to all. Thank you.
Hey, good morning.
Hi everyone.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year.
We'll just wait for 2 minutes and then we'll start, okay?
Yes, okay.
Okay. So I think we can start now. Pretty much decent. All people are available. So we'll start now. And before starting, wish you all a happy new year. I think we just completed 1 day of new year and we'll start the session now. And if you have, I think you all have gone through the EC2 topic very well. I hope everyone are aware what is EC2 and how it works. So I will just go with a revision of those question and answers, like just to check whether you remember or not. Then again, we'll start about the topic, which is the next topic. We'll go through the AWS. So let us start with just having a revision. So what is EC2? Anyone? What is Elastic Compute
Elastic
Cloud?
Computer Cloud.
Yeah, Elastic Compute Cloud. I mean, it's just like a web service which provides computer capacity in the cloud or
Okay.
secure capacity in the cloud. Yeah.
Okay. What exactly you can do with EC2?
We can create instances, snapshot or AMIs, and network interface as well, or Elastic IP,
Okay.
and
What
we
is
can also
AMI?
create a load balancer. We can also create load balancer.
What is AMI?
I mean, AMI just on image. which is mainly used for the installation of any instances.
Okay. What are the types of disks are available in EC2?
What?
AMI is Amazon
What are
Machine
the
Images.
types of disks available in EC2?
Instant store and
Samir,
elastic block storage.
EBS S3, S3 Glacier,
Okay. In EBS, what are the types we have in EBS?
We have provisioned IOPS, general purpose, magnetic throughput, cold.
Very good, very good. What is the maximum capacity you can assign per single EBS volume?
16 TB.
16.
16 TB. Sir.
Very good. And do we have any limit to create the instances?
no,
No,
Uh,
there
no,
is
no.
limit.
no,
No limits.
Okay. And will I be charged if I use when the machine is in power off stage?
Yes.
Yes. Because
Yes.
it will be always available in your cloud, so obviously it will charge.
Okay. What are the 5 different types of optimization we have in EC2 models?
general purpose,
pricing
computer
model.
optimized, memory optimized, accelerated and storage.
Very good. And general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, and accelerated and storage
Storage.
is compute,
Yes,
storage
storage.
optimized. Very good. And what are the types of payment methods we have?
On
I mean
demand.
pricing models. Yeah,
On
on
pricing
demand.
models, yes.
spot,
and-
reserve,
yeah,
dedicated
spot,
host.
reserve, dedicated host.
Very good. So we have 5 types of pricing models: on demand, spot, reserve, dedicated, and dedicated instance. But right now we have only 4 models we have. Very good. And
Yeah.
what are the network? What is that we can do in the networking when we create and when we launch an EC2 instance? What type of a network we need to select when we launch? We
That
need to select
is-
VPC, right?
Yes, VPC.
VPC. What is the difference between a public IP and elastic IP?
Public IP, suppose if you stop any instance, then obviously the public IP address will be invisible. I mean, it will disappear. Then we will have to create a elastic IP. Elastic IP means that is a static IP. It will never disappear. If we stop or if we reboot the server also, it will never disappear.
So public IP and elastic
So,
IP
always
are both
available.
internet accessible IPs, but the problem is that public IP is not fixed, elastic
Yeah,
IP is
it's
fixed,
dynamic.
and it is chargeable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I got
And
got mail from AWS that you have been charged 14 rupees like this.
yeah, how many elastic IPs you will get for a single account?
One instance for one elastic IP.
How many you can create a single account maximum? How many it is allowed to create?
How many account?
How many elastic IPs will be provided by AWS per single account?
Not Samir, I don't know.
Samir, I think
5
public
max.
IP and
Length
elastic
is
IP we
5.
have not discussed much.
Okay. Okay. So, but
Okay, Samir,
public IP
Samir, one question.
free of cost, but elastic IP charge only 5.
Samir, Samir.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have one
Yeah, I can
question.
hear you.
Yeah, if I create a network interface for any instance, so will it be chargeable or not? Suppose I get
No,
I created
no.
one network interface
No
for
charge.
any instance. Okay.
Okay. And next question is that as I, what is the purpose of AWS Marketplace? Why do I need to go with Marketplace?
Because we can sell the
Because
instance,
every type
we
of
can share.
every type of AMIs are available in marketplace. So
We can use the AMS as per our requirement.
yeah, correct.
Okay. What is the difference between a snapshot and AMI?
AMI is a ready-made template. Uh,
It is a copy of the image.
image.
Yeah,
The snapshot is the current working
yeah,
conditions.
in the state. Yeah, yeah, snapshot in the state of any machine, we can say.
Snapshot is created for volume only and AMI for the whole machine with volume.
Snap.
And
Okay.
with snapshot, we cannot launch the instance.
Okay. How many snapshots can we create? Do we have any limit?
No.
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 So very good. So we just had a quick revision of EC2, what we learned. Okay, now we are going to learn, actually we can learn networking or a storage or IAM. Identity access management also we can learn networking also, we can learn storage also. But as in
Okay.
EC2, you learned storage topic, right?
Yeah.
But the high level storage, how it works, a lot many people had a questions and different doubts, right? So I will walk through with the
Yeah.
storage topics, what all storages are available in AWS and how that the storage works. Then we'll understand EC2 with storage. Then once EC2, once storage done, then networking, then EC2 storage networking, then EC2 networking storage, then IAM, then database. Like that, we will go through step by step. Now what I'll do is that I am going to mute you all. Okay, I will be completing the complete theory and I will unmute you once I complete the concept. Then you can ask. I'll give you time for the question and answers, so that people, whoever has a question and answers, they can ask at that point of time, so that all doubts will be clarified, so that others people will understand what's going on. If not, they will get confused. Okay.
Okay,
Now
Sabir.
to understand storage, so first thing is that we will be talking about a storage called S3. So once we complete the storage called S3, then we'll discuss again about EBS, elastic block storage, what you learned in EC2. Then we'll discuss about EFS, elastic file storage. Then we'll discuss about a storage called as Glacier. Then we'll discuss about a storage called as storage gateway, which is a hybrid cloud storage. So these 5 different storages we'll discuss. So I am going to mute you all. So any questions and all, after the theory completion, I will give you 5 minutes time. You can ask me any kind of a questions. Okay. Okay. So I am just sharing my screen. Please let me know if you are able to see my screen. Okay. So what is this S3 and how does this S3 works? Let us understand about the S3 topic. S3 is basically a simple storage service we call in AWS. Now the purpose of this S3 is nothing but it is like a cloud storage. When I say cloud storage, it is almost as simple as like your, you might have heard about Dropbox, or you might have heard about, Google Drive, or you might have heard about iCloud. Simple, similar kind of a storage, which we call it as cloud storage. So AWS S3 offers, cloud storage. Basically, we call simple storage service. S3 means simple storage service, otherwise which we call it as an object storage, where you can store the objects. Objects means what? It can be files, it can be documents, it can be any kind of a data. Whenever you want to store, right, we call it as simple storage service, ES3, simple storage service. It's basically an object storage where you can store any number, any amount of data. There is no limit, unlimited storage. There is no as such limit like 1 TB, 2 TB, 10 TB. It is unlimited storage. You can store as much as you want. It's a it's a box where you can access the storage. But only remember, to access this storage, it is will be accessed with the help of HTTP or HTTPS or APIs. Means you can access either through HTTP or HTTPS or APIs. So that is the way where you can access this storage. So S3 storage, simple storage service, from anywhere you can access. All that you need is that browser to access this storage. access, you just need an internet connectivity and a browser. You can store as much as you data you need. It's a durable and it's highly available, and low cost, not so much expensive also. And you can store from and you can access from anywhere in the world. That is the best advantage what you get. And no compromise on performance. The performance is very faster, and you all that you need is that good internet connection to access the storage. As I told you, any amount of data anytime you can store and you can access the data, but one limitation is there in this S3. What is that limitation? Is that whenever you want to store the data, right, you can store as much as you want. However, single object should not cross more than 5 TB. Okay, single object should not cross more than 5 TB. When I say single object should not cross more than 5 TB, which means that one file should not cross more than 5 TB. You can put as much files you want, but the single file size should not be more than 5 TB. For example, you have a backup file. Okay, that backup file, if you have 1 GB no problem, 2 GB no problem, 1 TB no problem, 2 TB no problem, maximum till 5 TB no problem. Okay, if it is more than 5 TB, then it should be multi parts, like you need to make that into 2-3 parts and you can store the data. But single file should not be more than 5 TB. So whenever you're storing the data, so that is the limitation what you have in S3. But you can store unlimited storage, like like 5 TBs, you can put 1,000 files and 10,000 files, as much as you want you can put. There is no doubt about it, but only single file should not be more than 5 TB. That is point number one. And second thing, so whenever you want to store any data in S3, so S3 is needs something called as bucket. So you need to create something called as bucket in S3. So what is the bucket? Bucket is nothing but a container. So you cannot directly put the data in S3 like that. You need to create something called as bucket. Bucket is nothing but a place where you store the data, a container. So you need to create a container. Inside the container, you can store the data, whatever you want. So this is unlimited storage. You can create the buckets per account in AWS. For every account, a maximum 100 buckets you can create. How many buckets you can create? Maximum 100 buckets. And you can store as much as data you need. That is one thing. Second thing is that, remember one thing, the bucket name should be always unique. It should not be same or common. Like for example, Samir 01, Samir 123, Samir 324. Like regular name should not be there. It should be some kind of a different name, like production 1 2 3 4 5 and ABCD. Some kind of a unique name where it should not match with the other bucket name, because the moment you create unique, then only it will understand. If you make it same name, it will throw an error saying that it's already being existed in environment, because this is globally accessible storage, means from anywhere in the world people can access. So always recommended, best practice to have unique and universal namespace, so that they can access and without any kind of a problem. So always make sure that whenever you create a bucket means what? A container to store the data, and you can store unlimited storage, but maximum single file is 5 TB, and always the name of the bucket should be unique. Okay, next, S3 is object based, where object means nothing but, what is object? Object is nothing but a file. Object is nothing but a data. So suppose, let's assume you are putting a video file, then we call it as video object. If you are putting an audio file, audio object. If you are putting a Word document. So different files, whatever you store, right? Everything we call it as an objects. So objects, like it can be a audio file, video file, Word document, and text file, any kind of a files, right? Whatever you store inside the bucket, we call it as objects. So whenever you create or whenever you store the object, that object consists of identifications. Like one is that what kind of a key it is, what is the name of the object, and what is the number of bytes of that object consists of. Version ID. So what do you mean by version? Version is nothing but an unique number. So whenever you store the data, or whenever you retrieve the data, whenever you modify the data, or whenever you do any kind of a changes to that particular data, an ID will be updated in your data file, like nothing but the versions will be there, so that you know what kind of a data you are using. And also metadata is nothing but data about your data. Like suppose if you're storing a Word document, so it should understand that the file is nothing but a Word document. And you can also define access control list, like which user can access, what user can access, and what are the permissions to access that particular data. All those things you can define with your S3. So all these are the advantages what you get in S3. So S3 has following features. S3 supports basically nothing but tied storage. So tied storage is nothing but whenever the data is getting, whenever your storage is getting retired, you are becoming old, right? You can go with the S3 for the faster access, and you can go with the S3 for your backup purpose. All your backups you can move to the S3. And also, if any data which is like which requires where you have a lot of huge data which is storing in different location, you want to consolidate and you need to put it in the tied storage. That is also one advantage. You can use S3. S3 also you can use for website hosting. For any static website, if you want to host, you can put it in S3. And if you want to do any kind of an encryption, then also you can use S3. So all these are the different features you're getting. And also replication purpose, if you want to have any kind of a replication, there also you can use this S3. So all these are the different features what you get and what you store in your S3 storage. Okay. And life cycle management rule. Amazon S3 supports life cycle management rule. So what do you mean by life cycle management rule? Life cycle management rule is nothing but, let's assume, forget about S3 storage. If you take your laptop, or if you take your desktop, right, so much of data you'll be using. In those data, how will you know that which data is old, which data which you're not using regularly? Can you optimize it? In our laptops or desktops, we can't optimize those data. Unnecessarily we'll be consuming the complete storage, right? So life cycle management rule in S3, how it works is that, suppose if your data is older and if your data regularly not being used, right, you can go with S3 storage and you can create a life cycle management rule saying that if my data is older than so and so XYZ date, if my data is more than 365 days, move this data to a different box. If my data is more than 2 3 years, move this data to another different box. Like that you can create rules from the storages. Now this backend rules to be created in the box with the concept called as storage classes. So S3 has certain storage classes which I will discuss. Okay. Now next feature what we have, something called as versioning. What is versioning? Versioning is nothing but, so everyone will be storing the data in S3 storage. Different people will store the data in S3 storage. Whenever you store the data, there is a chance that accidentally your data might get deleted, accidentally the data might get modified, accidentally you might flip the data from one location to another location. You will not know like which data got deleted, which data got modified and everything. So in versioning is an advantage. When you enable this versioning, every time whatever the data you modify, whatever the data you update, one copy will be available as a version ID in the background, so that whenever there is any problem, you can retrieve the data without any problems with the help of versioning. Versioning helps you to retrieve the data at the time of accidental data deletion or anything happens. That time also you can retrieve the data. That is also one of the advantage what you get in your versioning. And fourth thing is that encryption. Your data gets encrypted. So what do you mean by encryption? So S3, right, whenever the data, what are the data you store in the S3 storage, it's very important to have the encryption. Why? If you don't encrypt the data, there are chances that because you're accessing over the internet, anyone, or if they want to hack your data, or if they want to take the data, it will become very easy for the hackers to do any kind of a data hacking and other stuff. To protect the data security, to protect the data complaints, to make sure that data has been always as a high priority, encryption is a technology which Amazon supports. Amazon supports two types of encryption. One is we say server side encryption, which is customer encryption. And second thing is that AWS is providing one service called as KMS, key management service. Now this is also one more service which does the encryption, where you can create the encryption keys, and whenever you want to decrypt the data, again you need to use the key to decrypt the data. So one of the good technology which Amazon is providing you for the encryption, which we will see later at the time of encryption. And the last feature what Amazon provides you is called as MFA delete. MFA is nothing but multi-factor authentication delete, means second level authentication. So what do you mean by second level authentication? Like how you have, whenever you do the bank transactions, you get OTP, right? One time password. Similar kind of a way, like whenever I want to delete any data in S3 storage, I can configure multi-factor authentication delete. So when I want to delete this, what happens is that I will get one time authentication. It will ask you second time to delete the data for the purpose of security, to make sure that I am not deleting anything unnecessarily, or not not messing up with my data. I'm very much cautious. So this delete will give a second opportunity, means it will give an option to recheck one more time before deleting, so that you are deleting the right data, and you have a second level authentication. You're validated the data before deleting it. So all these are the features what Amazon S3 is giving you, as a AWS S3 storage. So you can use for the lifecycle management rules, you can use for tied storage, you can use versioning, you can use encryption, and you can also use multi-factor authentication as a option for your features. Okay, now what is this storage classes? What is this S3 storage classes, and what are the purpose of these S3 storage classes? S3 is nothing but a box. So let me draw one diagram so that you will understand. MS Paint. One second, I am sharing a screen. S3 is nothing but a storage box. Now what they did is that in this storage they made around different boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, like this, multiple boxes are there. All are S3 only. All are S3 storage only. So all are S3 storage. In S3 storage, they made some boxes. Now how they give name? So the by default, the first one is called as S3 standard, and the second one S3 standard infrequent access, and the third one we have S3 intelligent tiering, and fourth one I am writing at the bottom, which is nothing but one zone, S3 one zone. And we have again in the fifth one we have Glacier and Deep Archive. Like this we have boxes we have. Now what is this difference between all these boxes? All are S3 storage only, but again categorized into 5 different boxes, 5 to 6 different boxes. Now you might get it out, what is the difference between these 5 to 6 boxes? Where do we use this these boxes, and what is the purpose of this storage classes? Why Amazon is provided you these kind of a storage classes, right? The understanding here is that what you need to understand is all these are the 5 different object storage classes. Each storage class has its own benefit. Okay, now standard basically what it does is that it gives you very high throughput performance, means very fast, very high throughput, and very low latency. Latency will be very less, and Amazon is providing you 99.9999% of durability across multiple availability zones. and designed for availability, and it gives you per year. And lifecycle migration, lifecycle automation is possible when you go with the standard. Standard means nothing but high availability, durability, performance wise, everything is very good, and basically used for cloud applications and online applications, dynamic websites, content distribution, mobile and gaming applications, big data analytics. For all these purpose, you can go with this particular standard, S3 standard, nothing but the regular one. Okay. Now there is one more option called as infrequent access in standard. So what do you mean by infrequent access? Let us assume in some of the applications or some of the data in S3 storage, which you're not using regularly, you're not regularly accessing it, or you're not, you have the data, but hardly in a once in a year you use it, or twice in a year you'll use it, or couple of months you use, couple of months you don't use. So why you need to pay that much expensive for the standard? So what you can do is that you can put it in S3 infrequent access. They also provide you high throughput performance, everything. They also provide you 99.99% durability, and they also provide you 99.9% availability. Everything is there. But the only difference is that there is a cost difference. The reason is that infrequent means they will put that in the background. The data will be put it in the non-used drives so that the cost will reduce. So because you're not using regularly, so you can move that to the infrequent access. Wherever you're not using regularly, that data can be moved to the S3 standard infrequent access. So it is basically, it will, if you compare with the actual price, your price will be almost 10%. The lesser price will be there compared to your standard costing. That way you will get the advantage. Okay. And Amazon is giving you intelligent tiering also. So intelligent tiering is nothing but, again, the faster access, where you use regularly data, wherever you're using regular data, and fastly you want to access it, and your data keeps on changes, and you have regular patterns, and you keep on modify the data, optimize the data, right? For those kind of things, Amazon is giving you intelligent tiering, where in the background, based on your use case, it will deliver you the data accessibility faster, and no additional cost is required. And only thing is that because it's an intelligent device, based on your usage, it automatically improves and throughput the performance of your S3. And it also gives you 99.99% availability, and no operational overhead is there, or no retrieval fees. And there is no specific price changes. Only thing is that compared to S3 standard, it will be little less, and compared to intelligent tiering, infrequent access will be little more less. And fourth one, you have one zone. One zone, only the difference is that it is almost like infrequent access only, but the difference is that your data doesn't store in multiple availability zones. The data will be, the background only will be available in single availability zone, which means that if you lose this storage, if there is a downtime, if there is a box went down, so you cannot retrieve immediately. You need to wait till that box is up, because the data is stored in one single availability zone. Now you will ask me doubts, sir, why I should put it in single availability zone when there is no data guarantee. So it is like this: data is very much old, 3 years 4 years old data, you do not use regularly. Once in a while you will access it, and you do not keep on change the data, right? And it's okay, like it's not a critical data, like which you will which you can't wait. So you're fine, like if the data goes down, it's a 4 years 5 years old data, but if the data goes down also, if there is a problem in the back end also, still you're okay to wait. For those kind of data, you can put in one zone. And the last one, we have Glacier and Deep Archive. This is nothing but, we call it as low cost storage, which is otherwise called as backup storage. So any data which is old, which doesn't need a regular data throughput, or you don't need to use regularly, you only use as a backup purpose, means secondary, you don't want to store in the primary storage, you just need to store it in as a backup. Okay, only for the backup purpose, and low cost storage, and it will, restoration will take a lot of time. Suppose if you're storing 1 GB data, it can take 3 hours, or it can take 4 hours. and you're okay because you're not using as a regular immediate restoration. You want to use it as a backup purpose, and you want to maintain it as a low cost storage. Suppose where you have that very old, very bulk data which you hardly use it. You don't want to put it, or you don't want to access it faster, you can put it in the Glacier. Like this, you can store from standard to IA to, or standard to intelligent tiering to infrequent access to one zone to Glacier to further deep archive. Now what is the advantage here is that, remember here, in one standard gives you high throughput performance, latency will be less, expensive, durability is there, 99.99% durability, SLAs are there, encryptions are possible. It's a regular one. Now what you can do is that you can create a life cycle rule. Okay, if my data becomes older than 365 days, or if my data is older than 700 plus days, move my data to an intelligent tiering. Or you can say, like, okay, after standard, okay, whichever I'm not using this data, okay, which I'm using regular data, move to intelligent tiering. And where I'm not using any data from last 1 year, move to infrequent access. And after 750 days, move to one zone. After 5 years, move to Glacier. Or after 2 years, move to Glacier. Like that, you can create a life cycle management rule based on your requirement. Now what is the advantage you get by doing all these storage classes is that, only advantage financially is that cost varies from one box to another box. That will give you a biggest advantage. Second thing is that speed varies between one box to another box. Third thing is that you are optimizing your data as per your own requirement. You are not in hurry, like, whatever you want you're using. You're only using based on your requirement. All these are the 5 different types of features what you get. So S3 standard is nothing but default storage class. Second is intelligent tiering, which is nothing but which is designed to optimize storage cost by moving the data to the effective tier, means wherever you are using regularly, so that it will give you faster performance. For that purpose, they are giving you this intelligent tiering. Then we have S3 infrequent access in one zone. Infrequent access means where you don't use regularly the data, you use hardly, very rarely you'll use. And one zone is nothing but single availability zone, where you don't use multiple availability zone, you're using single availability zone. For that purpose you can go. And then we have something called as S3 Glacier for the backup purpose, and S3 Glacier deep archive, nothing but, again, as I told you, right, that's also backup storage, archiving storage. Basically low cost storage, durability, resiliency, you will get it. But the only drawback is that you will not be able to restore faster. It will take a lot of time to restore it. Basically used for all kinds of backup purpose. Overall, if you understand, if you in a easiest way, is that it will reduce the cost, reduce the accessibility, speed, and other things. Based on use case to use case, you can create the life cycle rule. All these are the advantages of your S3 classes. Okay, now S3 also has charges. Like, how does the S3 will charge you? On what basis S3 will charge you? One is that the number of storage, the consumption what you're using, the number of request, and management pricing. Basically nothing but the management console and other things which will be included. Data transfer pricing. So let's assume you are transferring the data from S3 storage to a different storage, so the data transfer pricing is there. And cross region replication pricing is also there. So what do you mean by cross region replication? So suppose you have a data, you kept it in Mumbai location, and you are very much scared in case if the Mumbai location goes down, you are worried about your data and you want to put a secondary copy in some other region. Okay, so that if Mumbai location is completely down also, still you have the data safely available on your Singapore or UK or some other region. So Amazon provides you something called as cross region replication. Replication is nothing but process of creating a the data in another location, means same copy will be available in the another location. So Amazon supports you with cross region replication pricing. So if you enable this, you will be charged for the replication because you are putting the secondary copy in some other location, so that is also chargeable. And transfer acceleration, what do you mean by transfer acceleration? transfer acceleration is a feature in Amazon that is basically provided for the users who want to access the data out of the country. So basically for the longer distance, for the very different locations, the people are trying to access the data. So what happens is that if you want to access the data which is across the locations, from users to S3 bucket, so they use CloudFront in the background as a edge location. So that's the reason that is also chargeable. So Amazon provides you transfer acceleration as a feature. Like for example, take an example, like you have a Flipkart. For Flipkart application, everyone might be using, most of the people who access the Flipkart is nothing but Indian users. So for them, the transfer acceleration will not work. But just imagine if there is a social networking site like Facebook or Instagram, right? So the Instagram is application is not only related to India, right? It is for the everyone globally. Anybody can access the Instagram. Just imagine if Instagram, Mumbai user pictures are located in Mumbai zone, and somebody from UK want to see that pictures or access that pictures, they can't wait for longer time. It should be very faster. So that picture should be locally cached and give you the fast access and give you the performance. So transfer acceleration will help you to provide you the faster access for the longer distance pictures, images, or the data basically. So for that purpose also Amazon will be charging. So these all are the different charges based on the features it will be charged. So you need to pay for it. So Amazon supports cross-region replication, which is nothing but across the region, and Amazon supports nothing but transfer acceleration, and Amazon supports classes. How many classes Amazon supports? 5 classes. One is called as S3 standard, S3 infrequent access, intelligent tiering, one zone, glacier, deep archive. Now what is S3? S3 is nothing but simple storage service, which is used to store the data as nothing but an objects, where you can use the protocol called as HTTP, HTTPS, and API. You can store unlimited data, but single object should not cross more than 5 TB is the limit. Okay, now I'm giving you 5 minutes of time. Then again, I will mute you. You can ask if you have any questions before going to the S3 second topic. Yeah, you can ask any questions if you have.
Hi, Samir. I joined late.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
but I want to ask you, yeah, S3 is used for a storage purpose, just like a server.
Pardon? Can you repeat the question?
Actually, I joined late, so I asking about that. S3 is used for a storing purpose, just like a servers.
No, it is not for the servers. It is basically a cloud storage. So I think you missed it. So basically it's an online storage like Dropbox, Google Drive is there, no? Similar kind of a storage where through a browser you can access this storage and you can use it for your, data, whatever you want to store, like objects and other things you want to store, right? Documents, pictures, images, all those things you can store with the help of S3 storage.
So anyhow, it will be stored in the any servers, means any hard drive or anything like that, no? And so we will take it back.
Yeah, the backend will be hard drive only, but it is not connected to any server or anything. It is basically accessed via browser.
Okay.
Samir sir, with our free account, this S3 storage will be also available to us?
Yes, it's available.
Okay. Can we just see the space? How much space available for each user?
Unlimited space. So there is no limit. You can store as much as you want, but up till 5 GB it is free of cost. After 5 GB they will charge you. I will show you when I show you the lab. I'll show you. As of now, I am just telling you the theory. So if you have any doubt on the theory, you can ask me.
We can use this S3
I have a question. What is difference between IA, the infrequent access, and one zone? I did not get that
infrequent
clearly.
access and one zone, the difference is that the backend, when you go with infrequent access, the data will be in the backend, it's clustered where you have multiple availability zone accessibility is there. In case if your data goes down also, still your data will be provided within immediate backup, like because the backend Amazon is maintaining multiple availability zone. But when you go with one zone, your data is being kept in only a single availability zone. Suppose if that any problem happens and if your data is down for any reasons, the backend, your S3 storage is down, you need to wait till the S3 storage is up. You cannot access because you have kept the data in single availability zone. One zone is nothing but single availability zone.
Single. Okay. Oh, yeah, got it. Thank you.
Hi, Sam.
Yeah.
So how many objects we can store in single bucket?
I already told you, unlimited.
Okay. In single bucket.
Yeah, in single bucket you can store unlimited, but a single bucket, single file should not cross more than
5 TB.
5 TB.
Maximum bucket is 100, right?
Per account, 100 buckets is the maximum. Correct. Okay. So
Sir,
again,
I
I'm
didn't-
going to the, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get you the what is the mean by bucket. Bucket is just like a storage. Matlab, it is a space like the hard
Bucket
drive
is
and
nothing but a container. Bucket is nothing but a container. I think you missed the starting. So bucket is nothing but a container where you can store the data. Okay. So whenever you want to store the data, the first step is that you need to create a bucket. Bucket is nothing but a folder. Like in general, it's called as a folder or a container.
So starting, I asked you what is S3. So you said that it is just like in a cloud. We will operate in that. So sir, anyhow, I will ask about that. It will store in any type of the server or any type of hard drive. But you said that it is stored in the cloud. So I want exactly. I didn't get an exact picture. So yeah, obviously it will store in the cloud, but it will store in somewhere like a servers or somewhere else like in the Amazon.
No. So storage. So okay. So the backend, what is storage box? So storage box is nothing but a place where you have multiple hard drives. Okay. So whether you take S3 or EBS or EFS or Glacier, any storage technology you take, storage is nothing but a place where you have multiple hard drives. So the backend,
So,
there will
yeah.
be a system, a storage where you
So,
find all kinds of hard
if you're
drives,
coming to sir,
and
one minute.
in that hard drive,
Sir, if we coming to the storage hard drive, then it will must be a server. No? So server have that hard drive, na, that is a more than
no.
256 TB.
Server hard drive is different. Storage system hard drives are different. So storage is nothing but a place where you have multiple hard drives. It is like a normal system, like normal, it is not like server inside the hard drive. That is different. Storage technology, we have technologies like SAN, NAS, iSCSI, FCOE. These are the technologies which contains a storage system. Storage system is nothing but a place where you find multiple hard drives. Like, one second, just a second, I'll
Just
show
like
you.
just like a ML3 tab library type they are taking for the backups like that.
Wait, I will show you. Just a second, 1 second, hold on. Storage box will be like this with a big box in the background. Amazon, in the Amazon data centers, they maintain like this box, these kind of boxes with multiple hard drives, which can be SSD drives or which can be SATA drives, which can be SCSI drives. They maintain all these kinds of storage boxes across the globe. So like these kind of a multiple storage systems will be there in AWS, and all these are connected over the internet. Now this is not related to server and all. Server hard drive is different. This is storage system. So like this, they'll have multiple hard drives. For example, if you want to know outside example, if you want to know what you can do, you can go to Google and type Okay, EMC VNX storage, just an example. Okay, click on this just for an idea. Click on this. Okay, you can see, right? This is the storage. This is not, server. Storage is nothing but a box where you find multiple hard drives like this. All multiple hard drives will be there. Okay, you take Hitachi storage. Okay, any storage you take, it is nothing but, it's not a server. It is a place where you find multiple hard drives. Okay, so you'll find, right? You can see, right? If you see this, nothing but, these all are nothing but storage boxes where you'll find all kinds of drives. Okay, now you take IBM storage. Okay, this also, all you'll find is that hard drives. If you see, hard drive 1, hard drive 2, hard drive 3, hard drive 4, hard drive, this is not a server. This is a storage which manages only hard drives. Okay, and this will be connected over the internet, and they are providing you like different kinds of technologies. One is called a SAN, NAS, iSCSI, FCOE. So similar way, these storage boxes in the background, they are providing you as a technology called as in Amazon EBS, EFS, Glacier, and S3. So in the background, they'll find this, like these hard drives will be there, and which are nothing but, which is a box, which is like a physical machine which contains of all hard drives connected to the internet, and they are configuring you as a service, and they're giving you so that you can access the data. Understood, right? Yes, now you can ask. Hello.
Sir, I have a question. Can I create FTP service in S3?
So S3 is nothing but a storage where
No,
you
no,
can
no.
store the data. You have the accessibility. You want to create an FTP service, a URL link which it generates, right? So you can store it as in a file transfer protocol. You can upload, you can download, whatever you want, you can do it.
Sir, as per my point, I understand like that it is just like a backup purpose. It is where we can store. Means just tap library we are using for tap library for backup purpose, no? So just like S3 we are using in Amazon also.
So as I told you, it is not only one purpose of tape. There are so many different features. Okay, you can put it as a backup, you can put it as a standard, you want to store the data, you can host as a websites, you can use as a a indefinite place for storing as much as data you want. You can store as a backup files if you want to store. You want to do something like your production data, you want to put it for the restoration, you can put it. Okay, financial documents you want to put it, you can put. You want to use it as an internal what is that file server, you can put. So all these are the multiple options what you get. So S3 has so many features, not only one particular feature. You can use it as a multiple features and multiple options.
So Samir, we can compare this as like a pen drive with a high capacity, because pen drive doesn't have an operating system, pen drive doesn't have a server, right? So it's just like a pen drive with a high capacity,
Yes.
right?
So yeah, how many people know Google Drive?
I think everyone.
You all know Google Drive?
Yes. Yeah, we all.
In Google Drive, what is that you do in the Google Drive?
Just store the data.
Put our data.
To store the data.
Same, it is similar like a Google Drive. S3 storage. You can put it as a storing the data unlimited. Okay, you can use it for your web applications, but the only thing is that Google Drive, where you store the data, here in S3 is giving an advantage for everyone, not only for the one purpose. Say like for example, I am a developer, I want to use my online all my data, I want to use it in S3. So I can go and I can configure, I can put it as like for the Instagram, every user of Instagram needs a lot of space to store the pictures and images. The backend I can integrate with S3 storage so that they get the provision to store the data, right? So like this, I have different options I can use it. Means one storage gives you so many different features. You can store for you're storing your personal data. You can store as a file. I mean, you want to upload and download as a file server, you can maintain. You want to put it as a backup purpose, you can put. You want to host as a website, so you can host. You want to create as a replication purpose, you can create. So many advantages are there. S3 is a very, very intelligent and fast storage, which gives you a privilege to do so many activities.
So according to the charges,
S3 storage, as you told the example, Instagram. Can you use S3 as a storage for Instagram account?
So as I told you, who can use, a developer can use, not you. So basically the developer, what he will do is that for his application, he can use S3, he can integrate, S3 storage in the background, so that all the pictures and all the things, whatever he's creating for his application, automatically gets stored in your S3 storage.
Okay.
You also, if you are developing one application, you need a cloud storage, an online storage, you can go and use S3. You know Netflix?
Yeah.
Have you heard about Netflix? Everyone know about Netflix, right?
Yes.
Netflix uses S3 storage in the background. Just imagine how many videos they'll have every day. They'll be trying to upload different types of videos, and different people are accessing those videos across the globe, right? So in the background, they use the S3 storage because it's an online storage, it's a remote storage, it's a cloud storage. Anybody can access. Okay. Like this, S3 can be, yes.
So Samir, yeah. So over here, can we say that S3 is more of like can be categorized as a public, private, and hybrid model of cloud?
S3 storage is a combination. You can use as a public storage. No, you want to use as a private, then you need to use VPC endpoint to connect to the S3. No, you want to use as a hybrid, you can use. So S3 is basically storage, can be used based on your use cases. You can use as a as a public storage. Anybody you want to access over the internet, they can access. No, you want to access privately, then you need to use something called as VPC endpoints. Then you can use as a private cloud storage. No, you want to maintain it as a combination of public and private, then you can go with a hybrid storage. So all solutions are possible. S3 is nothing but basically a storage box in the background, which Amazon is providing over the internet as a service with HTTP, HTTPS plus API, APIs and SDKs. API means what? Application Programming Interface, which means that any application which connects with the program can be integrated with your S3. So that's the reason I told you, not only through browser, not only through HTTP, HTTPS, if you want to use it with for your application as an APIs, you can use it. So I'll ask you a simple question. You all use Ola, Uber cabs?
Yes.
So when you click on Ola and Uber app, in the background, what is that gets loaded when you put the source and destination?
Availability.
When you click on Ola and Uber app, so when you put the source and destination, the backend, what is that gets loaded in your backend?
Web pages.
Google Maps.
Google Maps,
Location,
correct.
yeah.
So Google Map belongs to Uber or Ola?
No.
No.
Right? So it belongs to Google, right? So now how this Uber and Ola is able to get the Google Map? This is nothing but that Google Map is nothing but when the Uber and Ola has taken the API of Google Map, they are integrating for their application with the Google Map. Same way, whenever you have any application, when you need in the background that application to store the data which is related to S3, means in the S3 storage, if you want to store, you need to take the API gateway from AWS. So when you contact AWS for the S3, so S3 they'll provide you the API gateway to integrate between your S3 storage and your application. Okay. Same way, this is used for the developers also. It is used for the normal administrators also. If you want to use it as a backups also, different use cases, you can use this S3 storage, storing for the data, storing for the backup, storing for the website, storing for the development work, any kind of work you can use this S3 storage, because it's a online storage, it's a remote storage, it's a cloud storage. Okay.
Okay.
Now
Okay, sir.
let us discuss about S3 security. Okay. Now what is this S3 security and how does this S3 security works in AWS? Okay. Now S3 security basically nothing but how exactly this S3 security will be working and how do we manage it. So by default, whatever you store the data in AWS S3, it is nothing but it's a private, means it is not public, means anybody whoever want who can't access. So the moment you create the bucket is nothing but a private, means it is only who has the access, they can only access and everyone can't access, because the moment you create it will treat as a private, means it is only for the whoever having the access, only those people can access. Now if you say that no, you want to give it to everyone, then you need to make that bucket into public. When you make it into public, anybody can access that storage. Okay. And apart from it, you can also define access controls to your buckets. So access controls are nothing but you can define bucket policies, and you can also define access control lists. Bucket policies are nothing but set of rules and regulations. You can define policies like which user need to be accessed, which application need to be accessed, like those kind of policies you can define. And access control list, which user has the permission to which log or which file he want to access, you can define the control list also, like who all can be controlled this particular application or the particular bucket or particular content. If you want to define, that's also possible. So Amazon supports as a security wise bucket policies and ACLs. So bucket policies are nothing but JSON policies. JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notation. So AWS in the background uses JSON. JSON is nothing but Java language, Java scripting language, which Amazon provides you to provide you the security. So whenever you want to create any kind of a policies, you need to write a Java scripting language, one small scripts you can define, which is basically JSON scripts. If you want to define a policy, no, you want to define through graphical is also possible. But if you have a knowledge through Java, you can write the JSON policies for to providing you more and better clarity on the policies, you can define it. So Amazon also provides you the security wise encryption, as I told you. So Amazon provides you two types of encryption. One is called as server side encryption, and the other one is called as key management service. Now what is this encryption? So remember here, suppose let's assume you have your own laptop, right? So now whenever you have your own laptop, and your data by default in the laptop will be encrypted by your company, so they use some kind of encryption technology to encrypt your data, whatever you're using in your organization. But like how exactly it works is that, suppose if you lose your laptop anywhere, right? If somebody has stolen your laptop, if he wants to access your laptop by putting the username and password, first thing he need to know the username and password. Once he knows the username and password, he can access your data. But let's assume that he has taken the hard disk and he want to take the data out of it. He doesn't have any idea on your username and password, but he want to retrieve the data. The moment he use that hard drive and connect to any other machine, it will not detect. It will say that your data got encrypted, so kindly use the encryption software to decrypt the data and use it. So like that in S3 also, because you're using this a cloud storage, people who want to access from outside world or people who want to access from the internet, if anybody want to access the data, Amazon S3 gives it restrictions, means it will provide you with the encryption. If the data is get encrypted, the people can't access the data directly, because it gives an error saying that access is denied because your data has got been encrypted. So you need to have the, whenever you want to download or whenever you want to copy the data from a different location or different source, right, it needs the key management service. Whenever you create the key with the help of data, you always need to have the key to retrieve the data. Means whenever you want to decrypt the data, you need to have the key. So like this you can define encryption on your storage. So S3 provides you the two types of encryptions. One is called as SSE, server side encryption, and the third one is called as second one is called as key management service. AWS KMS is one service which Amazon provide. Remember here, these two services are not free of cost. So whenever you log into the KMS service, you need to create the keys, encryption keys, and then only you can decrypt the keys to retrieve the data. So these two are the features what Amazon gives you for the encryption purpose. Suppose whoever want to encrypt the data for the safer use, they can go with the encryption purpose. And I also told you versioning. So what is versioning? Versioning, as I told you, versioning is nothing but, for suppose you created a bucket and you started created a bucket and you trying to delete any data, you were trying to modify any data, or you are changing any data. So what happens is that when it comes to the versioning, so any people can accidentally delete the data, or any people who can, there is a chance that, by mistake they can do any kind of a modification. But whenever they do any kind of a modification, or they do any kind of a changes, what happens is that, you know uh, they will not know, like, what data they have modified, or what data they have deleted, which can be very much important. So when there is a versioning, what happens is that in the background it creates one version IDs. So basically what it does is that it creates all kinds of version IDs. So whenever it stores all the versions, so whenever accidentally if anything gets deleted also, because the version is there, always you have a chance to retrieve it. Means whenever you go and click on show versions, automatically it will show you all the versions and you can retrieve the data. But the only problem is that whenever you enable the versioning, your storage consumption will become more, because in the background it is creating one more copy. So your data will become more. Suppose if you're using 1 GB, which means that in the background you're consuming 2 GB of data, because you're storing all the versions and the objects. So all kinds of whatever the modifications, whatever you do, all the version IDs will be updated, and which will help you to restore the data whenever you want to create. So one more thing is that once you enable the versioning, you cannot disable it, only you can suspend it. Because the reason is that the old versions, whatever is there, that versions will be still available, because you cannot modify the old data. So from the moment you enable it and the moment you can suspend it, but still the old versions will be there available for your help. Whenever you need to restore, you can restore the data for the old versions. But when the moment you suspend, this versioning will not work. So any new thing you get, new modifications you do, or anything, versions will not get created. So always, if you want, you can enable the versioning. Versioning is chargeable. So basically it's a consumption based charge. So how much ever you're using, you can use it. And also integrate with lifecycle rules. As I told you, lifecycle is nothing but, you can create means you can do whenever you want to move the data from one location to another location, you want to change from one location to another location, you have an option called as lifecycle rules, which I told you, that is also possible. And MFA delete, multi-factor authentication delete. So as I told you, the second level authentication. So basically, like how you have OTP one time password for your bank accounts, transactions and other things, Amazon is helping you to configure MFA delete. So MFA delete helps you and gives you an option where you can enable multi-factor authentication, second level authentication, where you can configure the second level authentication. Whenever you want to delete, you can delete, and only that at that time, whenever the data you want to delete, that time it will ask you, okay, please provide me the second level authentication access key, then only it will allow you to delete. So what is the advantage here is that it gives you the second level authentication, so that your data is protected and very much secured. So like this, we have one more feature. And the third thing is that lifecycle management. As I told you, lifecycle management is nothing but transition to actions. Basically, you can create a transition path. Like if the data gets older, if the data wants to move from one location to another location, you can always define the action lifecycle management rules. In lifecycle management rules, the data gets moved, the data gets migrated from one location to another path. And your advantage is that you can optimize your data with your own requirements without having the data gets deleted or anything. You can properly optimize your data, and your data will be always available for your use cases. And it also helps you to save the cost, storage cost effectively, because you are not using unusing anything. Only you're defining, okay, if the data is older than this many days, move this. If you're not using it from so and so 1 year, move this. If you want to delete it, move it. Like this, you can define as a planned action. And also Amazon also supports you object lock. Basically nothing but if you define an object lock for the complaints purpose, so what happens is that anyone who want to delete the data, they cannot delete the data because that object has a lock. So basically it's very important data, critical data, complaints, regulatory complaints models, right, where your organization says that you cannot delete this data, or it is basically used as an extra layer of protection against your changes of your data. Like suppose it's very very important data which should not be deleted for the due course of like 2 years or 3 years, because it is been complaints modes are there, like your organization has some regulatory or some kind of a compliance mode or governance mode is there in your organization, where the data should not be deleted and it should maintain some retention period, like some xyz number of days your data should be safer, and it should not be deleted for so and so versions, should maintain some years of time because of the legal or any kind of a parameters in the background. So you can define this object lock for your purpose, like for the S3, so that what happens is that the data cannot be deleted or the data cannot be migrated, and you can define the lock however you need. You can also define the lock for your objects as per your requirement. You can uncheck the lock whenever you don't want. Basically it is all for the compliance purpose and basically for your regulatory methods, whatever you're using your environment, you can go with this solution. So all these are the advantages what you get in your S3. So basically S3, as I told you, it doesn't hold any file system or any operating system, right? It is basically connected. You want to use it for your operating system to store the data, it is not recommended. It is basically recommended as a cloud storage, where you can store the data over the online. No, you want to use it as an local storage as for your operating system, you can use it, you can mount the storage, not a problem at all, but you need to use third party tools to mount the storage. And you cannot use this to install as a file system or anything, not possible. It is basically a complete and object storage which provides you http https and apis to integrate. And as much as storage you want, you can use it. It provides you bucket policies, it gives you acls. All these are the different features what you get in your S3 storage. So you can define the locks, you can define the versioning, you can do the replications, you can do the cross region replication, you can store the classes and different types of classes. You also have mfa delete, you have versioning, you have encryption, you have lifecycle management, you have cross region replication, you also have the pricing for only what you're consuming, and the transfer acceleration is one of the features they're giving you. And in the security wise, you can define bucket policies, you can define acls. And on the encryption side, Amazon is providing you ssc, service side encryption, and Amazon is providing you kms, key management service. All these are the different features what Amazon gives you for as a server, as a nothing but as a storage on S3. So S3 does so many things: website hosting, and server side you want to integrate as a cloud storage, you can store, and you want to use it as a snapshots in the background, Amazon S3 will be used. So all these are the different use cases what Amazon provides you as a storage. Okay, anybody has any questions, they can ask me now. Hello.
Hello, sir. I have one question.
Samir, I have a question regarding regarding this H3 storage. I think earlier also in earlier classes also have the same doubt that if this is an object storage, then how come we can use it over the internet? Means, as we know that only the file system level storage, like which is NFS, network data storage, we can use as a over the network like HTTP, HTTPS. Then if this is this S3 as it is a object level object storage, then how we can use it as a either as a both cases, like local storage as well as over the network, means NFS type storage as well.
See, as I told you, if you want to access over the internet, you're using the HTTP and HTTPS protocol, like same like Google Drive. So Amazon S3 supports this HTTP, HTTPS or APIs for accessing the storage. It is in the background, it is a storage box where it will allow you to store the data, because it has its own metadata to support your data to store, like you can put any kind of an objects to store, because it is having the metadata internally built with your S3 storage. Okay.
Hello, sir. My question is that, sir, is S3 is totally separate, means ECW and matlab EC2, whatever we have learned in last classes. So it is totally different than EC2, or in this same feature we are learning to the matlab there are progress feature like that EC2, after that S3 is there.
You're asking that what we learned in EC2, that storage and this storage, is it same? You're asking what is that? That's what your question.
Yeah, sir. It is matlab it is totally different feature.
So,
Persons can take this feature completely different way, and that EC2 has a
so
different.
remember here, so what you learned in EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, the storage, that storage is called as EBS, Elastic Block Storage. That is nothing but block level technology which uses fiber channel protocol in the background, but it is not using HTTP or HTTPS protocol. What your EC2 is using, what protocol? FC protocol, fiber channel protocol. It's also called as block level technology.
Okay. So compared to EC2 and S3, which one is most costly for users? Users plus.
What is it?
Coming to user perspective, I want to know that, sir, which one is most costly or which one is most beneficial for the users, either EC2 or S3.
So which one is most costly or which one is most expensive, you're asking? So obviously EBS will be expensive than S3, because which gives you the fast storage and super fast performance.
Sir, one more thing. If we have a one organization, okay. Hello. Hello. Sir, if we have a one organization setup, if we have a one organizational setup, we want servers and we want to implement our applications, and we run in our private private IPs. So if we go for EC2 or networking or S3.
Can you repeat that? If you have a EC2, if you have a private sector, what is that?
Sir, if we have a one organization, okay, in that organization, I want to set up our own applications, whatever the application we want to run. Okay, then we will go for EC2. Then we will go for EC2 or S3.
So for servers, you will be having EC2. No, all your servers will be using EC2.
But previously you said that, sir, S3 is most preferable than EC2.
Sir, EC2 is a server. S3 is a cloud storage. EC2 is server. Server means what? Where you install applications and all. S3 you will be using as a cloud storage. So there are two different things. Google Drive and your laptop is same. Tell me.
No, sir.
What is the difference between Google Drive and a laptop?
In Google Drive, we can store
Samir,
data
I
in our
think he confused with EBS. He confused with EBS and S3.
So see, your laptop, what you store in your local hard drive, whatever you storing the data in your laptop, you can think it as a EBS, nothing but as a block storage. Okay. Google Drive is nothing but through online, through internet, you can store the data. But can you install any application in Google Drive?
No.
So
No.
Can you install any software in your laptop?
Yes.
So EC2 is like a server technology where you can install softwares, where you can install applications, where you can do anything, any kind of a data work and whatever you want, you can do it. Okay. But when you go with the, when you go with the S3, it's a cloud storage. It's an online storage. It's only purpose of storing the data. There you cannot do or cannot work on the installations or applications or anything.
But you saying like that previously we can run application, we can use HTTP and HTTPS, we can go through that like that.
You can use HTTP or HTTPS to access the storage, Saurabh.
Actually, I'm thinking like that if HTTPS and we will accessing through S3, then we can store our application, we can run our application through S3. Why we will go for EC2?
So do you have the fundamentals of the difference between the the normal hard drive and normal server operating system? What is the difference? The operating system, what exactly you do on the server level and what exactly you do on the operating system? If you have that clarity, it will be very easy. What I would suggest you is that there is a brush up session as there separately, which explains you the fundamentals about what is the difference between the server level and what is the difference between the storage level. So server is different. Server is a place where you can do install the applications, work on the
Yes, sir.
applications, you can do whatever. Storage is nothing but a place where you can only store the data and where you can only retrieve the data. So S3 is nothing but a cloud storage where you can store the data, where you can retrieve the data with the help of multiple protocols. So if you're using the storage for your server operating system, then we explained you in the EC2 called as EBS, elastic block storage. Okay. If you want to access that same, when you want to access for your servers using EBS, in the background it uses FC protocol, fiber channel protocol, and we spoke about EBS has multiple varieties. Like there are 5 types of boxes in the EBS. One is called as provisioned IOPS, general purpose, magnetic. These all are for the server operating system. S3 is what? S3 is nothing but cloud storage, nothing but online storage, where you can access over the internet with the help of protocol called as HTTP, HTTPS, and other options. So all these are the different options what you get in your AWS.
Samir, I have a question. Hello.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
As we storing the data in S3, any particular object has any obligation or a restriction which we can't store in S3? Any object, any kind of object we are.
What is it? And any kind of an object you can store, any audio file, video file, documents, anything, whatever you want, you can store.
I think I am just asking because it's any disadvantage, I think, which is not able to store in S3. That's why I'm asking.
No.
Okay.
So what is that you can't do is that I'll tell you, you cannot control the IOPS, okay, in S3. So what do you mean by IOPS? That day I told you in EC2. What is IOPS?
Input output operations.
Input output.
Input output operations per second, which means that number of data what you're going to store, number of data what you're going to retrieve, right? The speed, the duration that you can't manage. Okay, because in EBS everything is managed. EBS has levels, provisioned IOPS, general purpose. So I told you provisioned IOPS supports more than 60,000 IOPS, general purpose supports more than 16,000 IOPS. Like that IOPS are there. In S3 you can't support all those things because it's an online storage, remote storage. So it is on demand. So that IOPS, that speed you cannot manage. And second thing is that this is not meant for the server operating servers. For the servers, Amazon is giving you EBS, block storage. Okay. This is not for the servers. This is basically for the backup purpose, restoration purpose.
Samir, correct me if I'm wrong, to answer Saurabh's question, because there is a lot of discussion going on. Saurabh, to answer the question, I am working on a mainframe application. Okay, so mainframe is the operating system. So mainframe operating system is handling a banking application. Okay, so mainframe operating system is available in EC2. And my mainframe banking application is using 1,000 files. Those 1,000 files, I can keep it in S3. Okay, so mainframe operating system is in EC2. which is using IOPS concept, EBS concept, EFS concept, everything. Okay, the 1,000 files which are required, the customer's files, the data files, everything is in S3. And what Samir is trying to tell is through API, EC2 talks with S3 and interface the file, executes the applications, run the banking applications and all. So for all operating systems, say Java or Unix or whatever, the operating system, storage, everything is in EC2, and whatever 100 or 1,000 files or 1 lakh files are in S3. Correct me if I'm wrong, Samir.
Correct. You are absolutely right. That is one thing, one example. And second example in a easiest way. So now you take Flipkart application, right? That application might be hosted in a server. That application might be running in a server. But in the Flipkart, when you click on each and every tab of Flipkart application, the background there are images are there. Have you seen that? If you click on shoes, you will find some hundreds of shoes images. If you click on electronics, you'll find the hundreds of electronic images. That background might be stored in S3 storage, which might be accessed via these APIs. So server is different, storage is different. So that now if you ask, sir, can't I use this S3 as a my EC2 storage as a secondary drive or a third drive? By default, EBS will be provided. If you want to mount it as a drive, you can mount it as an object drive, but you cannot run or install the file system. To understand what is this, you need to understand what is NTFS file system and what is ext2 file system. I hope everyone knows, right, what is NTFS and what is ext2 file system.
Yes.
What is NTFS? It is a Windows file system. What is ext file system? It's a Linux file system. So like this, you cannot use it as a, for S3, you can't mount that drive to my local computer or EC2, and I cannot use it as a file system because it doesn't support it. So always for EC2, you will be using EBS storage only. Okay. For your application as a backend, for the connectivity, for the integration purpose with the help of APIs, you can use this S3 storage. Hope you are understood.
Okay, sir, I get it.
Any other doubts on S3? Okay, so now you understood about S3. In S3 storage only, there is few more storage technologies are there. Now, what is that other storage is, what are the other storage technologies are there, and what is the other advantage of the storage technologies? I'm just going to explain you. We'll be discussing about a storage called as storage glacier. One second. We have a storage gateway. One second. Okay, some people are asking, can I get this storage PPT? Yes, I will share you. It will be uploaded in your, I'll be uploading this in your portal. You can take this. If you want, I'll put it in the WhatsApp group. You can access this. Okay. I will be just explaining you the fundamentals of SAN, NAS, iSCSI, and FCOE. Okay. Then you will understand very clearly. People who don't know the fundamentals of storage, please listen carefully. Okay, I'm just giving you the fundamentals. Then again, I'll explain you about the other storages in AWS. Okay. Okay. Storage system is nothing but a box. Keep this in a mind. Which consists of what? It consists of hard drives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like this, multiple hard drives are there. Okay. And these are my servers. Windows server, Linux server, and all. Okay. When you want to, so this every local server also will have a local hard drive. Okay. Every local server will have a local hard drive. Okay. Now, by default, whenever you install any application, this application will be installed either in your, you can install this application in your local hard drive, and it can talk to your local hard drive. Now this gets completely full, right? What will happen? This will not have a capacity to handle it. So that time what you do is that you go with the storage technology. Now the storage technology, you can go, this storage technology, how it works, this storage technology has multiple technologies are there. SAN, NAS, what is that? iSCSI, FCOE, and object storage is also one technology. SAN uses one protocol called as FC protocol. NAS uses a protocol called as NFS protocol. iSCSI uses nothing but iSCSI protocol. FCOE uses fiber channel over Ethernet, and object is nothing but which uses HTTP or HTTPS APIs to use it whatever you want. So like this, 5 different storages, 5 different protocols. Now if this server needs a storage, you can connect via this server to the switch to storage box. This can be, you can be using a SAN storage also, NAS storage also, iSCSI also, FCOE also, object also. All inside all this storage box, only what will be there? Only hard drives will be there. Nothing more than that. What hard drives? I think you all people know. What are the hard drives we have? Right? We have hard drives called as SSD, HDD, all these kinds of iSCSI, all kinds of hard drives are there. SSDs, HDDs, hard drives, and iSCSIs, all kinds of hard drives are there. Okay, so only these kinds of hard drives are there. Okay, so you can use solid state drives, you can use normal hard drives, or you can use iSCSI drives. Only hard drives will be there. Now this particular server in the background, if they use FC protocol, then we call it as SAN storage. If they use NAS NFS protocol, then we call it as NAS storage. If they're using iSCSI protocol, we call it as iSCSI storage, right? If this storage, if the user is accessing over the internet or through browser through HTTP or HTTPS, then we call it as object storage. Which means what? The backside, the backend, it is nothing but a box which consists of hard drives, which consists of it also will have an operating system, its own operating system. It also will have the background physical devices will be there. It also uses all kinds of layers and everything, security, everything will be there. It is simple box. Now IBM people, if you go with IBM, then you have IBM SAN storage. If you go with NetApp has NetApp SAN storage. If you go with EMC has EMC SAN storage. Like the different names are there. So we are not worried about it. We don't want to know anything about this box. How is this box? Who is the owner of this box? We don't want to know anything about it, because this is already managed and maintained by AWS. So we really don't want to know what kind of a box it is, what kind of a hardware he is using, what kind of an application he is using. Nothing we should know. All that we should know is that just try to access the application with the help of protocol. So if you're using SAN storage, means if you're using FC protocol, in Amazon we call it as EBS, Elastic Block Storage. If you're using NAS storage, nothing but NFS protocol, in Amazon we call it as EFS, Elastic File Storage. Okay, if you're using object storage, nothing but HTTP, HTTPS API, then in Amazon we call it as S3 storage, simple storage service. Now each storage has its own use cases, own use case purpose. You need to use this storages. Okay, now you understood. So this side we don't control, everything is controlled by AWS. Okay, clear?
So one question is there. Suppose if we are using SAN, we create LUN and map it to the server. And when we map to the server, and then we create the file system for storing, like NTFS or ext2 or XFS.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we want to use the API, if you want to use the object storage S3, so can we create the file system there?
No. So in your EC2, also in your EBS also, you're not creating. No, already Amazon creating the LUN. Amazon is only configuring the storage box. Amazon is giving you as a raw storage, okay, like a block storage. They already formatted and they're giving you, so that you can use it for your EC2 Windows or Linux based on your file system what you want to use. You do not have an option for that.
Okay.
If you are doing all those things, LUNs, server storage creation and all, then no point of going with cloud. Again, you're doing a double work.
Okay. So in S3 we cannot create the file system, right?
No. S3 they are giving you a storage and ready-made accessible. You have the lump sum storage which you can store as much as data you want. You just need to create the buckets and you can start using it. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. So like this, EBS, EFS, Glacier, all these kinds of different types of storages are available for your use case. Okay. So what I'll do is that I will share you. I think last time I shared you the fundamentals document. I'll share you again. You just go through those storages. If you get time in YouTube, type what is SAN, what is block level storage, what is file level storage, so that you'll get some knowledge, some idea. It will become very easy to understand. And in AWS we are just using it. We are really not worried on the back end how they are created and how they are managing, because it is all job of Amazon. Our job is that using that storage we'll start using for our applications, we'll start using for our servers.
Right.
Okay. So again, tomorrow I will be covering the next level of the storage, that is called as AWS Storage Gateway and EFS, Elastic File Storage. Before going to the storage, make sure that in YouTube, when you get time, learn about what is block storage, what is file storage, and what is hybrid storage whenever you get time. It is very simple. If you go to YouTube and type what is block, what is file storage, it will give you some understanding. It will become very easy for you to understand how it works. So tomorrow I will be taking the session little early, probably at 8:30 a.m. because I have a flight which I need to go back to Bangalore. So tomorrow morning 8:30 till 10:30 I'll be taking the session. So is it okay for you all people?
Samir, I have some problem with 8:30 because tomorrow I have some activities from 9, I mean office activities. So it will be better if we can, easy on the same time or late.
Can we schedule at
9:30?
9:30 or 10?
My flight is at 1 o'clock. My flight is at 1 o'clock to Bangalore, so that's the reason I'm moving this to early.
Okay, I will try to join.
Okay, it's no
I'm not
problem.
sure.
8:30, no problem for 8:30.
So Samir, I had a question here.
No problem.
Samir, if you can hear me, if we are unable to join the session, would it be fine if we could maybe refer to the videos or the recordings to understand the topics intensely?
Recordings will be there, but if you join, it's okay. If not, you can refer the recordings, no problem.
Done. Thank you.
Okay,
Only
no
for
problem. I
tomorrow,
can join
just,
8:30.
Yeah, only for tomorrow. Sorry, because I have a flight at 1:30. That's the reason it will become very tough if I start late.
Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, no problem.
Samir, last time we had discussed one issue, like if we create one key pair, if we lost that key pair with the instance, you said that we'll be sharing the link. It's a lengthy process.
Yeah, forgot. I'll do that today. I'll do that today. Okay.
Okay, and another thing, and you said that you will be sending some key-based scenarios to practice for S3. Like it will be helpful if you share some scenarios so we can practice in
Once
practical.
we complete the tomorrow storage, right, then I'll give you the scenarios.
But you have said that you will send for EC for instances.
EC2, I already sent you the 10 points. I think I already shared you for the EC2.
I think you have sent the only the networking PDF for this study. You have guidelines.
No. Scenarios I already shared you. Again, I'll forward you. Just recheck once. Okay.
Okay, Samit. So, is there any topic to be covered, or I can leave the meeting as of now because I have
You can leave. Done.
Samit.
Thank you.
Okay, Samit. Thank you.
Thanks all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So tomorrow 8:30. Don't forget. Okay. Again, I'm telling you tomorrow 8:30 the session.
Yeah, Samit, can please send me the invitation mail. Can you send me the mail for 8:30?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. We'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.